Good afternoon, welcome to the studio today. Right, a little bit more pyrography, just something different. Again, do this pussycat in a different way. I use a different technique for this, one that creates quite a lot of texture. And we'll see how that looks. For which I need a different pen. So I'll switch pens. Right, turn that on. We've got sufficient heat, I think, and so I'm doing this now with the edge of this shader. Which actually creates a finer line than using the writing tip that I've got, so that's why I'm doing this, using this pen rather than using the writing pen that I've got. So in addition to making the coloured lines, it also has a slightly rough texture now. A bit like, I will say, it feels like fur. It doesn't feel like fur, but you get the impression of it being fur-like. Trying to work out which way the cat's fur would go. So ultimately I don't actually know what colour this cat's going to turn out. But just here where the front leg as the sap just basically joins on the body, I just want basically a dark crease there, or joining between the two fur being darker, just like a shadow area. And then what we will do is fur on the back is going to be this direction, so I'm going to turn it basically, but one of the difficulties in doing this is going to be to actually get the sort of a fur texture without actually getting great big black blobs. Thank you very much. The coffee fairy just arrived. This is interesting because one of the things that's happening here is we're getting sort of a mottled fur effect. Wasn't what I was expecting, but I'll go with it. I know what's causing it. It's being caused by the fact that when you start and stop pyrography, you get a blob, very much the same as you would do with airbrushing actually. It takes quite a bit of well, there's two ways of avoiding it. One is to cool the tool down quite a bit. The other one is to use a similar technique, which is to make sure that the tool is moving when you touch down. But even then it's still challenging, because when you lift the tool off the wood it heats up a little bit because the wood conducts heat. So it cools off as you touch down, and the heat that is stored while you're not actually touching the wood is what causes that initial darker blob. Now, one thing that would help with that would be a really close temperature control tool. Don't know of any. And it would actually have to react fairly quickly as well. What we are getting here is this interesting ginger cat type of effect. So kind of a Bob Ross moment at the happy accident. You do something, you get something unexpected, it looks good, so you carry on with it. Now, going across the grain is different to going vertically with the grain. I can feel the difference here using the pen. I can actually feel the grain. The pen doesn't run quite as smoothly across the grain as it does in line. This is effectively almost cutting the wood a little bit. It's creating a rough texture. It does sort of dig in. Not so much digging, I suppose, as the wood shrinks away from it, which effectively is not much different to it actually digging in. I have found doing this technique in which I'm using here, which is to use the tip of the this shader, often does give an effect where when you look from side to side like that, which you saw me doing, one side has got colour on it, the other side hasn't, so it changes colour. Fur does that as well, but may or may not be something that I want in the pyrography. This particular case, it would be fine. If I was trying to make this a really dark cat, black for example, and I'm not going to now because I quite like this, then that would be important. I'd have to turn the piece over basically and do the other side of the cut that's being, or the V shape that's being made. So anybody who's seen me do the very early pyrography of Felix and Junior, this is the technique that was being used on those. And those being, well, Junior's a black cat and Felix is a really dark brown. Of course, to pyrograph those, I needed to make sure that the fur was really dark, not leaving it light like this is. Now I'm actually using this pen in the wrong orientation. It should be more like that. So one of the things that is happening here is the pen body is heating up more than normal. And my fingers being directly above the heat source are also feeling it a little bit. Yes, people watching that haven't seen this before, you are looking at Pyrography. Maybe we shouldn't have done that quite so dark. Which I generally describe as painting with heat. It literally translates as fire writing, but I'm neither writing, as you can see, nor is there any fire involved. Now, pyrography can be done with fire. Blow torches, acetylene torches, and there are people that do that. I don't. It doesn't suit my style anyway, so but I am working in the house, so things like blow torches aren't really the right thing. It often gets called wood burning, and it's kind of not even that, because wood isn't actually sort of burnt. It's more a process of cooking the wood, and the heat is actually it's sort of cooking the liquid in the cells, in the fibres, which turns them brown. Of course, if you apply enough heat, then you do get actual burning, oxidisation. But this particular tool probably won't go hot enough to do that. Let's leave his chest area a little bit white. Give him some white socks as well. So even doing things like this, you can still apply shading. You see that's darker than this is. So even though I'm applying a texture at the same time, it doesn't stop me doing shading to show like there where the fur comes together, and the sort of the body of the pussycat wraps under the front paw as he sat there, or she sat there. I'm going to come up towards the neck, and then I will wait a little bit before doing it the head, mainly because I'm not quite sure how I want to do the head. Well, one way to get an image that looks like fur when you're painting is to paint every hair. I'm not quite painting every hair, but I am painting quite a few of them. And while you are doing things like this, which is creating a texture, and it is important that that texture, if you want it to be a realistic looking texture, actually follows as it would do on the object. So here I'm doing cat fur. It would be no good going horizontally. For example, cat fur just doesn't do that, and it wouldn't look particularly right. And it's the same with other things completely different, but if when you observe something that you're reproducing and a texture goes in a particular direction, follow the direction. Otherwise it will look, ultimately will start to look odd. Alright, so let's do the tail. Trying to keep the tail a little bit random. It's a smaller area, so it's a lot harder to be random in a smaller area. And that's getting a bit hot. With holding the pen vertically, the heat comes straight up. It's a bit like holding your fingers over the candle flame, if you've ever tried that. Zero knee. English, please. Okay. One chance. Said English. Don't want to translate it. So if you want to talk to me, fine. If you don't, I'll quite happily ban you. Okay, let's come up further around the neck and then we'll see quite how we do the head on this. Angle that area off there a little bit so it's like a shadow just under sort of the neckline. I want to get a bit lighter as I come up here around the top of the head, just because light would be shining on the top of the head. I can't go too light, it looks, otherwise I'll be losing the texture. Now I could do with looking at where I put an eye and the mouth. What I'm going to do is give him a black nose. Aye. Yeah, he's going to be roughly about there. Let's go with a really cool pen. That actually use the pen tool. So what's an eye going to look like from the side? Not quite right, but it's close enough. Switch back to the other pen. Okay, bring the temperature down. Which allows me to actually manipulate the pen slower without getting darker fur. Ow. It gets a bit hot. Just trying to do really close, tiny hairs just here. I'll turn that down even more, because what I'm just going to do here is cool the pen off and then just apply colour without any texture. Cat's nose fur is really smooth. Just adding a little bit more of the eye shape in there. Can't really see much of it, but just enough. Turn that up a little bit. Turn it up a bit more. As you work with the high heat, you tend to get used to it, or the higher heats. So when you turn it down, which is sometimes neat to do, it just seems really slow to colour. And you then start to get different effects from what you wanted, because you end up holding the pen in place for too long a time. That's part of learning the pen and learning the tool, is to start to learn what's, you know, the way that the pen reacts, or you react to the pen. So you can get the colouring and the shape that you expected. So, that doesn't look too bad. Do the same thing now on the other side. I kind of want to make them fairly similar on both sides. So we'll probably keep turning it over to check it out. That came up to about there. And he had socks on, I believe. Yep. Okay, so let's start by okay, welcome to the studio, anybody that's watching. What you're watching, of course, is Pyrography, as it says in the title, Pyrography. Painting with heat, or perhaps a more literal translation actually is firewriting, but as I always say when I say that, is I'm neither writing nor using fire. Hence why I tend to translate it as fire, as painting with heat. Now then, Junior, good afternoon. Got a pussycat visiting. So are you going to come and sit down here? There's coffee, and it's mine. You'll have to sit on my knee. Come on. The frame is black because it's a black cat. Come on. Come on. Come on off. Come off. What? You're doing what all cats do. You're sitting where the work's going on. Come on. Yes, I know you want your head stroked, but come down here. Come on. Let's just turn that off for the moment. Come on, Junior. Come on. Stand up, and then we'll lift you. Yeah, I know. You don't like being moved. You know, I want to do some work here. So, are you going to settle down? Hmm? So I'm now going to work around a pussycat, which could prove interesting. Especially as he's decided that he's going to put claws in me. He actually wants stroking. And that's what he's trying to persuade me to do at the moment, aren't you? Hello. Yes, hello. How did I do that one? Okay. So we're shading this. Make this back part of the leg quite dark. Most of the way up. Okay, and then we work away from that. Yeah, sort of at a diagonal. The cat's fur kind of, with his tummy, sort of comes off here. Good afternoon, Fear Reaper. No, but it could be, I guess, couldn't it? It's only got a short rope on it. It's just a hanging ornament. But I guess I could. You could hang this from a necklace of some kind. How are you doing? Oh, okay. How's that going? How's the internship going? Not kicked you out yet. Well, I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Well, we are 3 hours to the new year here in the UK. So it will soon be 2016. Of course, that probably means somewhere in the world it already is, but Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing with time zones, isn't it? Have you made any New Year's resolutions? I make the same one every year, and that is that I'm not going to make any resolutions, so I immediately fail. Yes. If you successfully make the resolution, you've immediately failed the resolution. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a wire, Junior. Don't bite it. I'm attempting to sort of do both sides of the tail roughly similar. Got a dark patch rest around there, and then we go light. Okay. A little bit lower down. And then a reasonably dark-ish patch down. Yeah. Well, I hope you had a really good Christmas, Fear Reaper, and got everything that you were looking forward to. My studio is our new studio is started. So I will be getting a new studio this year. I should be able to go back to doing some things like airbrushing and things like that, which I've not really had the space to do for a while now. It's only a wired unit, it's okay. Okay. Well, just moves it to a different time of year. I know in Denmark it's Christmas Eve when gifts are given, not on Christmas Day like it is in the UK, so yeah. You got lots of nice food. Problem is, you get so much nice food that you don't eat it all. Well, that's the problem we have. You kind of eat so much that you don't really eat up all the nice food that you bought, thinking it would be nice to have really nice food. I know I tend to get myself sort of at Christmas lots of snack type things and things like apples and cauliflower and all sorts of stuff like that, and I'm usually busy doing something to the point where I forget. So it's like now, you know, just as we're talking, I remember that I've got all these nice things to eat, and I've been busy all day doing things and completely forgotten about it. So it's still, by the time I finish this, it's time to go to bed, and then you kind of don't really want to be eating lots of things. So sometimes it defeats itself, just buying all the nice food. Now then, yeah. Oh, that reminds me, I must tell Moobot to about the YouTube page as well. Started putting some of the things, well, like this, I'll time lapse it and then put it onto YouTube, so you can see, things like well, pyrography, or I think I do the pyrography of Junior, which is sort of compresses about 12 hours down into 30 minutes, or something like this will be compressed down into about 5 minutes. Possibly not, Fear Reaper. It's crafting stuff is, or even, artwork type stuff is not fantastically popular, or even on places like YouTube, of course, as well as on Twitch. It's somewhat of a niche space, shall we say. Oh no, that's true. Definitely not. That's I agree with that. That's one reason. There's a Facebook page on there as well. Probably wants to be a bit lighter, does that? It is, yes. I mean, I'm not actually looking for perfectly identical on both sides, but similar. I mean, this one is fairly evenly, equally coated on both sides, shall we say? Really cats are either like all one colour, so you know, as long as I'm getting sort of roughly the same colour on both sides, then that's good. But cats aren't specifically symmetrical, so if I don't quite get it right, that's not fantastically a problem. But I do, want it roughly similar. Like the one that I did last night. Where's it gone? It'll be underneath my keyboard, I think. Yep. So it's one that I was just kind of doodling last night, so that's one that was done last night. And then when you turn it over, it's different on this side. The cat has got different patches on both sides, and it's quite likely. Well, whether they have, I suppose you might get patches like that. You would see you get them on both sides. You probably wouldn't have something like that on a cat that had larger sort of patches, but it just turned out that way. So it's relatively realistic. Thank you. Ow. Let my finger cool off. Holding the pen vertically gets the heat right on my finger, and it gets a little bit uncomfortable after a while. That needs to extend down a little bit further. Better. About there. So it comes all the way up to roughly around there. So the pussycat has a white chest. I'm working with a cat actually asleep on my knee, which is actually makes it a little bit awkward. Don't quite know what it is. I don't know. Perhaps I lean forward too much when I'm working, or what, and I can't do that with a cat on my knees. So, but for some reason there is something different about working with a cat on your knee than when you don't have one. Yeah, I was going to say the way to stop that is to put some really uncomfortable stuff there, but That doesn't work. I've got all sorts of stuff in front of me, and the cats will actually lay just straight on top of it, and you kind of go, how on earth can it be comfortable to lie with, like, you know, pliers, pointy nose pliers sticking in you and all sorts, but they do. Used to have one cat a long time ago now, called Popcorn, and that was back in the days when monitors were CRTs, cathode ray tubes, as opposed to LCDs, and he always used to actually lay on top of the monitor, because that's where the heat vents were, with both front paws over the top of the screen, so hanging down onto the screen. And occasionally, if it took to his mind and the mouse was moving around, it'd start batting at the screen, you know, trying to catch the mouse, which was kind of both funny but also kind of annoying because he was in the way. And you better get out then. Thank you. That's going quite well. Bit of a shading gone on across there. Perhaps his tummy is a little bit too, yeah, a little bit too light just around here. That's better. Wish I could, I'm gonna say I wish I could get lighting right. For pyrography, the brown colour is kind of like a glaze which is on top, and it's shiny and it reflects light really well. right back into my eye so I can't see what I'm doing some of the time. Which is partly why I'm holding it at an angle now, so that the reflections don't come straight at me. What I'm doing here is creating really fine lines basically, which is sort of like simulating actual fur. It sort of allows for the way in which fur kind of lays and layers, and you get sort of little bits which are darker and lighter than the rest. Now this is sort of a ginger cat, but even with the black and darker colours the same thing happens. And that actually can be one of the challenging things to represent in a furred animal, or a fairly loosely furred animal like this. Animals with a little bit more sort of dense fur, like mice for example, this sort of thing wouldn't work quite so well. But certainly for the cats, it really makes it, to my mind and to the people that have seen it live, really makes it look like fur. So I kind of do the neck from about there, right. If I'd have thought about it before I started this, I'd have put a collar on this cat. It's a bit late to do that now, because I wouldn't particularly get rid of the textures. It wouldn't disappear too well. So let's give him a little bit of a shadow. Yeah, and the rest can just come up. Okay, so we'll give him a black nose. I did that on the other one as well, it's slightly high, but never mind. 84 Guy, good evening, welcome. Turn that right down and switch pens. How you doing? How's Christmas been for you? And yeah, the eye is going to be about there. Bit lower. Okay, I'm not as good on this side as I was on the other. Never mind. A little bit more heat. The eye was better on the other side. That sort of thing happening is never a good thing over Christmas. Sorry to hear that. Okay, that's a bit I'm definitely not doing this side quite as well as I did the other side. No, it doesn't. It's kind of not the point really, is it? It might be true, but yeah, I don't normally colour the edge of plywood because it's not really relevant, but here it just seems too white. The only problem I've got is I'm just going to make the edge go dark. I've got 3 different woods in this ply by the looks of it, and they take colour differently. So trying to do the edge is what you might describe as a challenge. I don't actually want to go that far up there because that's white. I don't want a lot of colour, I just don't want it as white. Oops, steady Junior. Okay. I think I will call that done. Interesting. The first side that I did, which is this one, is definitely better than that side. May do a little bit more on that at some other point, just around the shading on the body. The shading on the body works quite well on this side. So that might just need a little bit more work. But I'm not going to do that tonight, I don't think. Maybe do that at some point during the day tomorrow. I shall leave it on that side. Yeah. So I am going to say thank you to everybody that's watching, and hopefully I will see you again in the studio in the future. If you'd like to catch me in the future, I recommend that you follow me on Twitch. That way, of course, it will notify you when I go live, provided you've pushed the button to say do that. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at @ZaragonArt. I do tweet when I go live, and other jewellery related or craft related items. On the other hand, if you'd just like to try and catch me tomorrow, should be on tomorrow, from about 8 PM UK time, 2000 hours GMT or UTC, they're both the same, or about 2 hours ago. It was 8 o'clock. That time tomorrow, roughly, thereabouts. Thank you all. Hope I'll see you again. And bye for now.